Hey everyone, Kevin here. Breaking news from Warren Buffett's annual shareholder meeting. We've pretty much all been listening to this virtually, the people who have been listening to it, and so have I. And Warren Buffett just revealed what happened with the airlines. Warren Buffett bought $7 to $8 billion worth of stock in multiple different airlines. And reports about a month ago were that he trimmed some of his position. That is, for example, he bought Delta Airlines somewhere around an average of $44 per share, and then sold Delta Airlines for somewhere around $25 per share. And initially, there was a lot of speculation that, oh, of course, Warren Buffett just sold off some of his position to get below the 10% SEC reporting requirements. Yeah, well, guess what happened as soon as we were below that 10% reporting requirement? Warren Buffett, unbeknownst to everybody else in the world, liquidated all of his airline shares. So in other words, he went in with $7 to $8 billion worth of purchases into the airline companies and now has $0 in the airlines. He probably took somewhere between a $3 to $4 billion haircut from his investment in the airlines. This is not going to be good for the airline stocks on Monday, but hey, if you believe on the airline rebound, unlike Warren Buffett, you might be able to go shopping for some cheap airline stocks on Monday, given that today is Saturday. But let me tell you what else he said about the airlines. He's got an interesting perspective. Here it is, and then I'll give you my opinion on it for what it's worth. Warren Buffett stated, "We bought roughly 10% of the airlines, just above. That's why we saw reporting requirements for that. Paid around $7 to $8 billion. We thought we were getting about $1 billion of earnings on that $7 to $8 billion, and we thought that would go up in time." He said, yeah, it's a cyclical business. Of course, earnings go up and down, but we thought we would get a good share, investing $7 to $8 billion, getting $1 billion worth of earnings, not exactly dividends, but in value. We thought that was a good investment. Then he says, quote, "Turned out I was wrong about the business." He says the companies we bought were well managed, but he says they are a difficult business. And he also says, quote, "The airline business has changed in a major way." One of the big ways he says it's changed is that each of them are probably going to have to borrow around $10 billion. That's American Airlines, United, Continental, and Delta. Or they're going to have to sell stock or cut into earnings to deal with this additional debt. And quite frankly, the future of travel, cruise lines, hotels, and the overall travel business in general will probably be lower. In other words, he goes on to say, the world has changed, especially for airlines. He says, "I wish them well, but they're going to be hurt by this. Even if you have," this was interesting, quote, "even if you have 80% of the flights, you still have 100% of the planes." This is just another way of saying, if your business goes down 20%, you still got the whole boatload of expenses. That's very interesting. He also then went on to say, look, ordinarily, if a stock goes down 40% in value, we don't care. It doesn't change our opinion on the business. But this business changed, so we sold. Then the very first question in question and answers that came up, because that was sort of in his opening statements, the very first question that came up was, "Did you say you sold your interest in the airlines?" And his response was, yes. So literally zeroed out his positions in the airlines. He says that American Airlines, United, Continental, Delta are responsible for about 80% of passenger miles flown in the United States. He says the world has changed significantly and that a lot of these miles go international, and he thinks international travel will be affected. He does not know how Americans' habits will change, but he does know that he's been stuck at home for 7 weeks, and it's been 7 weeks since he's put on a tie, today being a day he's wearing a tie. He says, who knows how we get out of this? Unfortunately, there are some that are really hurt by this forced shutdown, and the airlines were one of them. But because of this, we sold. And then he says something very fascinating as well. He says, we don't trim positions. When we sell something, we sell everything. In other words, if he sells a little, it's all gone because he doesn't believe in the company anymore, which I personally think is very fascinating because I always say my sell button is broken. When I invest in something, I invest in it for the foreseeable future. I don't care if I have to hold that stock for the next 20 to 30 years because I don't plan on selling it. The sell button is broken. And I believe that Warren Buffett is kind of like that as well, except clearly now he clarifies and says, look, if I think the business is basically doomed, this doesn't sound good for the airlines, okay? But when he basically says, I think the airline business is doomed, I'm out. I'm gone. Now, my opinion on this, just very short, my opinion on this is Warren Buffett is strictly looking for an investment that is going to clearly give him a defined future. I'm going to buy in with $7 to $8 billion, and I am going to milk that $1 billion roughly plus or minus in either equity or cash flow that I'm expecting. If I'm now only expecting half of that cash flow, I'm not interested anymore. The game has changed. It's not predictable. I can't even predict. Is it going to be half? Is it going to be a quarter? Is it going to be 75%? Well, I could throw spaghetti against the wall and have just as equal odds of being able to predict what the outcome is. And having read Warren Buffett's books, this is kind of where I think his mind is. It's too unpredictable for him, so he's out. Now, somebody like me, I took a position of maybe $40,000 in Delta Airlines myself over the last month or so as the stock has fallen. My purchase price is probably somewhere around $23. I expect the share price is going to plummet or be punished pretty significantly on Monday after these comments. But then again, you know, when we expect something in the stock market in the short term, crazier things happen. It could go up. Who knows? But given, for example, where I bought into Delta Airlines at $23 roughly as an average cost basis, I'm okay holding the company for the foreseeable future. I'm okay with my position. And a lot of that is based on my personal psychology that if I believe in something now, I'm going to buy it and I'm gonna hold through thick or thin. And to me, yeah, this is the thin part. This Rona's kind of gonna suck. Now, obviously, Buffett bought in around 45. I might have bought in around 23. It might go down to 15. But I'm here for the next 20 to 30 years to see what happens with the airlines because I do believe what Warren Buffett said earlier in his opening remarks is true. If you believe in America, you'll be okay. Now, of course, Warren Buffett recommends that most of us invest into an S&P 500 index fund. But beyond that, this is a really interesting insight on the airlines, and it's certainly going to leave a lot of folks scratching their heads. So this is definitely the time for you to go down to the link in the description below and buy yourself life insurance. It takes about 5 minutes to do so on your phone. You could Apple Pay for it, sign up for life insurance nice and quickly. And since Monday's probably gonna be quite a weird day after this, you may as well get yourself 2 free stocks with Webull. If you deposit just $100 into stock trading platform Webull, you'll get 2 free stocks worth up to $1,400. The first worth up to $250 when you deposit your funds, and the second worth up to $1,400 once the money clears. So there you have it, folks. Thanks so much for watching. Let's stay tuned to what other kind of bombs are being dropped in this this Warren Buffett discussion. And stay tuned. Thanks for watching. Bye.